Do you want me to check and see if you can hear? You can't hear. Davy? Davy? They can't hear anything. Excuse me, we do these Zoom and live on YouTube, so we've got to get our technical work straightened out.
Krishna, the
Can you hear
chat
now?
was disabled, it's still no good. The chat is disabled, so we can't write to you. The audio is no good.
Okay, well, so long as you don't need to see me, you just need to hear.
Oh, no, the other way around. Now it's okay.
Okay,
Okay.
Also, you have the chat disabled. If you do that, we can't send messages to you to let you know when there's a problem.
okay, I know.
Have them enable the chat. It's okay now.
Okay, thank you. We're going to start, actually today we're going to finish the reminiscence, glimpses of a great soul, because I believe last Wednesday you got to that Swami Saradananda died. And we are on page 255, the Prabhupada Bharati eulogy that was written after his death on the 27th of October, 1927. What the Ramakrishna mission is today is largely due to Swami Saradananda. The mission, though it derived its ideals and inspiration from other sources, owes its present articulate form mainly to the endeavors of the departed Swami. It is he who worked at it from its very inception, giving the ideals concrete forms, linking them to the problems of the passing years, till it reached its present advanced state of development. The outside world has learnt to praise its philanthropic activities and its dynamic ideals, but it scarcely knew the man who primarily worked at the details of the machinery. I know that I read this book probably 45 years ago, and I had forgotten how instrumental he was in the whole forming of the order and the way it appears in India and the United States. Now we have one last reminiscence to read. From the grandson of Yoganma, who was one of Ramakrishna's disciples. This is what Swami Aseshananda wrote. This letter was written by one of the grandsons of Yoganma, a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. I have translated from Bengali for the Western devotees of Vedanta, because the letter is written in a simple tone which speaks from the heart. It has a charm and sweetness of its own, which is untranslatable. You have requested me to write to you whether we have discussed any religious or philosophical problems with Swami Saradananda. Although we did not go to him to solve any spiritual problem, still his memory brings to us the image of a person who loved us dearly, felt for as keenly since the day our mother had passed away. We have had many opportunities of enjoying his sweet affection, and we will never forget him. His personality is bound to come in our talks because he was so intimately connected with us. But I cannot say whether the public will be interested in those talks. Besides, we do not know what spirituality is. We have never attempted to fathom the Swami's spiritual depth or to evaluate his spiritual power. My older brother has rightly said it. I never looked upon Sarat Maharaj as a world-renouncing monk. I always thought of him as my mother. One cold winter night when I was sharing the same room with the Swami, he said to me, "Vulu, the wind is blowing hard and the draft is coming. Will you be able to close the windows?" I replied, "Maharaj, please do it yourself. I'm very sleepy." Immediately, he got up from his bed and shut the windows tight. Two events were coming to my memory. Sometimes I narrate them to others. Probably you will remember that our mother died in Benares. After her death, we all moved to a house near Katergat. One evening, perhaps you remember, all were out, including myself. I did not go, including yourself. I did not go because I was not feeling well. In the meantime, the lady who cooked for us came. She needed a helper to flatten the dough. On other days, my sister used to help her. Because she was absent and no one is available, I volunteered to assist her. I was new at the job. I tried and tried, but eventually each one began to take a peculiar shape. There was no uniformity. All of a sudden, my grandmother, Yoganma, and Sarat Maharaj arrived. Grandmother began to tell her beads and was soon absorbed in her meditation. Sharat Maharaj entered the kitchen and inquired, "Hello, Monty, what are you doing?" I replied, "Maharaj, I'm flattening the dough for the chapatis." He remarked, "Oh, fool, is this the way to flatten the dough? Each one looks so funny, out of shape and proportion. Give me the rolling pin, I will do the job for you." I was surprised and said to him, "Will you be able to do that? When did you learn it?" He answered, "Do you think I was always like this, the revered Sharat Maharaj, receiving honor and worship from people? At one time, I was the cook of the monastery. I used to prepare chapati and a few dishes for 40 or 50 people every day." Saying this, he sat cross-legged on the floor with his huge, bulky body and began to flatten the dough with the rolling pin until the last one was done. And each one of them looked so beautiful, was in a good shape, a sight to see. I stood aside and watched the thing in gaping wonder. I was 14 years old. Another event comes to my mind. When I was a student of engineering college in Shivapur near Calcutta, I came to Udbodhan and said to the Swami, "Maharaj, I've got a scholarship for 15 rupees for my performance in the annual examination." The Swami said, "Go and relax." Then he called the attendant and said, "Entertain Monty, prepare tea for him, and give him biscuits, sweets, and other refreshments for his satisfaction." Again, when I came to him, being unsuccessful in my final examinations twice, I said to him, "Maharaj, I have failed." Even then, he treated me in the same ways as he had before and said, "Don't worry, take it easy, relax." He called his attendant and asked him to prepare tea and serve me with my favorite delicacies. He did not show the slightest difference in his attitude towards me, although the whole responsibility of supporting me during my studies in engineering college was mainly his. A lay devotee of Sri Ramakrishna who sat next to him listened to the talk and said, "Well, it all shows that you are quite indifferent to your studies. You are simply wasting your time, doing nothing." To this the Swami replied, "Whatever has happened has happened. No need crying over spilt milk. Monty, you better go from here and have some refreshments in the next room." Our grandmother, Yoganma, from upstairs, cried out, "Sharat, are you listening? Monty has failed again." With an unperturbed mind, which nothing could shake, the Swami answered, "Yes, I have heard, Yoganma. What is done cannot be undone. Let us forget about the past and give Monty another chance." And that is the end of our book, Glimpses of a Great Master. Oh, excuse me. Now we're starting on the life of Swami Abhedananda. Did we start it? Okay. There's a marker in here, and I'm going, whoa. Did we do something without me? We're going to be on page 493 of Swami Chetanananda's book. Not 93, I'm sorry. 439, I think. Yeah. Swami Chetanananda's book, God Lived with Them. Now, do you remember Swami Abhedananda was Kali when you read the Gospel? Okay. Ascertaining what is right and what is wrong is a great dilemma in human life. Sometimes people try to hide their mistakes by keeping quiet, concealing the truth, philosophizing, and excusing improper conduct, or arguing to defend their actions. This is the nature of weak people. That person is truly great who does not hesitate to confess a mistake and tries to correct it immediately. Sometimes students do not see their own mistakes, so a real teacher always comes forward to correct them. And I think that whole paragraph is something that we can all relate to at some point in our life. When we were young, I had a Sunday school child here, and I had told them, please don't climb the trees. And one little boy was up in the tree, and I called his name, and I said, is that you up there? No, it's not me. And he was still in the tree. Now, I mean, haven't all of us been tempted to do it or done it at least once in our life? Keeping quiet, concealing the truth, or excusing our conduct. Kali was serving his guru, Sri Ramakrishna, during his last illness at the Kasipur garden house. There were 2 ponds in the compound, stocked with plenty of fish. Kali was a good angler. One day he caught some fish, and news of this reached the master. In the evening, when Kali was serving him, the master asked, is it true that you've been catching many fish with a fishing rod? Yes, sir. The master said, it is a sin to catch fish with a fishing rod, for thereby living beings are killed. In defense, Kali quoted from the Gita, he who thinks that the self is the slayer, as well as he who thinks that the self is slain, is ignorant. For the self neither slays, nor is it slain. He further added, so why should it be a sin to catch fish? Ramakrishna smiled and tried to make Kali understand through various arguments. He said, when a person attains true knowledge, he does not take a false step. Suddenly the master began coughing, and there was a trace of blood in his sputum. Frightened by this, Kali told him, sir, talking will aggravate your cancer. Please do not talk anymore. But the master said, I consider you to be one of the most intelligent of the boys. You will understand if you meditate on what I have said. According to Ramakrishna's instructions, Kali meditated for 3 days and realized the meaning behind this statement. He went to the master and said, sir, I have now realized what is wrong to catch fish. I shall not do it again. Please forgive me. The master was very pleased to hear this, and he said, it is deceitful to catch fish in this way. Hiding in a hook, inside bait, and hiding poison in food offered to an invited guest are sins of the same kind. Kali humbly accepted what the master said and felt his infinite compassion. Ramakrishna continued, it is true that the Atman does not die, nor is it killed. But he who has realized this truth is the Atman himself. So why should he have the tendency to kill others? As long as the tendency to kill remains, he is not identified with the Atman, nor does he have any self-knowledge. That is why I say that when one attains true knowledge, one does not take a false step. You should realize that the Atman is beyond the body, the sense organs, the mind, and the intellect, and that it is the witness of phenomena. The master's words penetrated Kali's heart, and he realized the truth. Kali Prasad Chandra was born on Tuesday, the 2nd of October, 1866, at 21 Nimu Goswami Lane, Ahiritola, North Calcutta. I think I said. His father, Rashikal Chandra, was an English teacher in the Oriental Seminary. His first wife died, leaving a son and a daughter. This son's name was Biharilal. He later became a Christian. At the request of friends and relatives, Rashikal married Nayantara Devi, a gentle and spiritual girl who was 14 years old. She was an ideal wife. In the course of time, she had 9 children. The first 5 of them died at an early age. Of the remaining 4, Kali was the second. Before Kali was born, Nayantara prayed to the Divine Mother, Kali, for a son. When the child was born, she gave him the name Kali Prasad, or the blessings of Mother Kali. In 1871, at the age of 5, Kali was admitted to Govinda Seal's nursery school, where he studied for 2 years. He learnt the alphabet, heard stories from the Ramayana and Mahabharata, and began to memorize Sanskrit verses on morality and ethics. He then joined Jadu Pandit's Banga Vidyalaya, and in the evening he would go to a Sanskrit school at Haribagan, where he studied Sanskrit grammar. Kali was a bright student and a voracious reader. During this period, along with his regular courses, he's 5 years old, he studied classical Sanskrit literature, including the Hitopadesha Raghuvasham, Kumarashambhavan, Shakuntala, and Bhatti Kavyam. He learned prosody and could compose verse in Sanskrit. At the age of 10, Kali was admitted to the Oriental School, the well-known high school where his father taught English. This was at 10 years old, okay? One needs sound health in order to practice spiritual disciplines. Although from his boyhood, Kali was more interested in developing his intellect, he did not neglect his health. He swam regularly in the Ganges with his friends and exercised daily in a neighborhood gymnasium. However, when Kali read Herbert Spencer's Education, in which the author claims that those who do vigorous physical exercise do so at the expense of their brains, he stopped going to the gymnasium. Kali had studied Wilson's History of India, and there he had learned about Shankaracharya, the great exponent of Vedanta. Shankara's life and works inspired young Kali, and thenceforth he cherished a desire to become a pundit and philosopher like him. Kali took a drawing class in school and within a year excelled. The teacher praised his skill and prophesied a bright future for him. But one day Kali told the teacher that he would not come to the drawing class anymore because he had decided to become a philosopher. Kali's teacher tried to convince him that it would be better to be a painter than a philosopher. But Kali replied, "No, sir. A painter studies the surface of things, but a philosopher goes below the surface and studies the cause of things. So I want to be a philosopher." This is still at 10, 11. Okay. Kali had been extremely inquisitive from his boyhood. To satisfy his hunger for knowledge, he would ask his father various questions that surprised the wise English teacher. In addition, Kali would use his savings to buy books instead of refreshments. Kali had a remarkable memory and a keen power of concentration. He learned to fish, shop, cook, work with wood, garden, bind books, and so forth. When he was 14, he found a copy of the Bhagavad Gita in his father's study and began reading it. But his father told him that it was too difficult a book for one so young. Taking the book away from Kali, he hid it in his room. When his father left the house, Kali searched for the book and located it. In the dead of night, when everyone was asleep, he read the Gita by the light of an oil lamp. In the 1880s, Calcutta was the capital of India, and the city pulsated with cultural activities as well as political and religious movements. Kali attended the lectures of Surendranath Banerjee, a great national leader, Keshab Chandra Sen and Pratap Chandra Majumdar, the famous Brahmo leaders, and Reverend Kali Charan Banerjee, a Christian evangelist. At that time, Hindu leaders were working to protect their religion from the onslaught of Christian propaganda. In 1882, 1883, Shashadhar Tarak Chundamani, a well-known scholar, began to interpret Hinduism from the scientific point of view and gave a series of lectures on the 6 systems of Hindu philosophy. Kali regularly attended those lectures in Albert Hall. One day he expressed a desire to learn the yoga aphorisms of Patanjali from him. But Shashadhar told Kali that he had no time and referred him to another renowned scholar, Kalibar Vedanta Vagash. Kali's desire to learn the scriptures was phenomenal. He went to Vedanta Vagash, who was then translating Patanjali's yoga aphorisms from Sanskrit into Bengali. Vedanta Vagash told Kali that he had no spare time to teach him the Yoga Sutras, but he would explain the sutras to him in the mornings while his attendant gave him an oil massage before his bath. Kali began to visit the pundit every morning while he read the aphorisms. The pundit would explain them. Thus, he completed his study of yoga philosophy. Kali then bought a copy of Shiva Samhita and learned the disciplines of Hatha Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, Pranayama, and Raja Yoga. He had a desire to be absorbed in samadhi through Kachari Mudra, a special technique of Hatha Yoga. But he was told not to practice any of the methods described in Hatha Yoga treatises without being properly instructed by a competent yogi. And I think we'll stop there. Next Wednesday we will have with Sri Ramakrishna at Dakshineshwar, but now we know we have had a brief reading of what sort of person Kali was when he before he encountered Sri Ramakrishna. I think this is in quite a bit more detail than most of them. We have about as much information on Swami Vivekananda, what he was like as a boy, but many of them we don't have. Were there any questions or comments about what we have read? No? Yeah?
I was a little curious about the killing of the fish. I know that Ramakrishna ate fish. Was it the method of the killing of the fish, the deceiving?
Yes, it seemed to be. He said, he seemed to make a point of, usually in Bengal, I think it's with nets. They throw the nets out in the ocean, they throw the nets across the river. But he said it was unethical to hide the hook inside the bait. And the same way hiding poison in food is unethical to give to a guest. You killing your guest?
But effective.
I'm sorry?
May be unethical, but it's effective.
I'm going to leave that one. Okay, so next week we will continue with Abhedananda Kali meeting Sri Ramakrishna. And Saturday evening, this Saturday, we will be having Swami Aseshananda, the head of our Berlin Center. He'll come and give the gospel class or talk about the gospel of Sri Ramakrishna at 5 o'clock. After Vespers, we'll have a potluck with him down in the convent, and everyone's invited to come to the potluck. The lecture on Sunday will be Swami Sarvadevananda, and his topic will be processes of purification. Also on Sunday, he will introduce a new Swami who has come from India to help in Hollywood. And I don't have his name written down and I can't remember it. Okay. Does anyone remember his name? I'm sorry? Gyana Chetanananda? I don't know. It's Gyana something. But please come Sunday and you'll meet the new Swami who's just arrived from India. He came on the 14th, and we'll meet him for the first time on Sunday. And please come Saturday evening for Swami Aseshananda. It's been a long time since he's been here. The next Sunday will be Swami Chetanananda, the story on stories. Okay, that will be interesting, I'm sure. And it's good to see everyone on your Zoom. Good to see all of you. So we'll end there. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Good to see you. Sunanda, you look good. Lito, we'll see you later. Leanne, we'll see you soon. Elizabeth, good to see you here. And Dottie, hope to see you on the 4th. Oh, that's right, 4th of July. Everyone has to remember. Trabuco. You go to Trabuco.